it would be one thing if both parties were putting forth policies, competing policies, to help people that were doing the worst in society, but they're not. Their solution is to cut the Democrats' programs. The Democrats would probably cut it a little bit. The Republicans would cut it a lot. And at the same time, while Ben Carson, and we're going to show you Mia Love in just a minute, are saying that they are actually the party that cares about poor people, they can't even talk about how they care for poor people without advancing in so many different ways the idea that if you're poor because you are a dumb sap who's become dependent off the government. You are lazy. You are the worst type of person. Maybe someday they'll have a policy that could benefit you, but while you're poor, they think you are the most immoral type of person in society. That's why you ended up where you did, because you didn't have the strength of character, the moral fiber to end up like one of these glorious rich people going to their fundraisers. So why don't we show Mia Love now, Congressman Mia Love.
There's this old saying in law that what was meant to be used as a shield shall not be used as a sword. And I'm actually 52 days in Congress also, and I see that all of these programs that are meant to help the poor and the most vulnerable among us are the programs that actually hurt those that they vowed to protect. We have to trust ourselves. We have to trust ourselves to take opportunities and rise on our own, because independent people are the ones that give back. Most people who have risen out of poverty have done so in spite of big government, not because of big government programs. The focus of every program to help the poor should be centered on making poverty temporary, not just tolerable. In other words, do not, when I talk about giving the moral high ground to the left, we shall not give the moral high ground to the left. We are the ones that care about the poor. We are the ones that care about everyone being able to come from the lowest common denominator up, not the left. The left actually does the opposite. They bring everyone down to the lowest common denominator, and I refuse to yield the moral high ground, and we cannot do that.
So two important notes on that. One, I would listen to her a lot more if she advanced an alternative agenda.
Anything.
Yeah, and if she said, okay, I'm not going to ceding the moral high ground to liberals, because here's what my alternative is. My alternative is I'm going to help them, as she says, advance, not just live at a tolerable level, okay? Yeah. We're going to get out of poverty. And here is how I am going to get them out of poverty, right? Yeah. An education program, a job training program, but it doesn't have to be, oh, those are terrible liberal things, education stuff. You tell me, what is it? What's your plan? Bupkis. You don't have a plan. All you're doing is propaganda. Now, I have personal experience, and that's point number two, in something she said. She said, oh, government programs don't get you out of poverty. That's interesting, because now this wasn't in America. It was back in Turkey, where my father's from, right? Yeah. And my father was literally dirt poor. He was a farmer in southeastern Turkey, mucking around in the mud. Yeah. Okay. He was an olive farmer, some wheat, and some grapes, okay? And they had no money. So how did I get here, right? Well, the government of Turkey had a program that if you scored among the top students in the country, about roughly top 15% of, an exam that's roughly similar to the SATs here, so you can understand the analogy, you would get a free education. So my father, who had no opportunity, wound up having an opportunity because of a government program. He got a free education in the best engineering school in Turkey. Wound up, by the way, creating a business in Turkey that hired a ton of people. Then came here, created a business here, and he got a graduate degree here in America.
There's also this business as a result of that.
That's right. And he created a business that hired a lot of people. And then he helped me. I created this business. We hired a lot of people. Yeah. You see, that was the government helping tremendously its citizens, but also helping economically. That led to growth, that led to investment, that led to lifting all boats. Yeah. So you're wrong. There are cases where the government helps people tremendously. You just don't want to spend any of the money, and you don't have an alternative program. You don't really want to help those people. What you want is tax cuts, so the people who got you elected, the rich donors, can just take the money and put it back in their pocket.
Yeah. How does your father feel about being dependent on the government? He seems to have done okay. And my final thing about the Mia Love, she was honest for once there. She said something to the effect of, I don't want poverty to just be escapable. I want it to be escapable, not just tolerable. And she's right, not just about the first one, if she were to ever actually advance a policy, but the second one as well. Because the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans when it comes to social programs like this is not just how you get out of it, but what it should look like when you are poor. And there's a very different floor on what the conservatives and the liberals are willing to tolerate. Mia Love, the Republicans, they think that if you should have a chance to get out of poverty, but if you do not take that opportunity, there's not going to be a social safety net there. You could very well starve. Maybe they'll say a church could help you or something like that, some local group or something. But they do not think that at some point the government has any obligation to protect you, whether it comes to your health care, your job opportunities, your food, anything like that. It is a bottomless pit that you have one chance to get out of, and if you don't, then you're going to just continue to fall.